It is day 1 and the town is quiet, while Lee Abbott drives into a quiet town and goes to a store to buy oranges. Lee gets some oranges, a bottle of water, and some disposable cups and alerts the shop owner, who seems to be friends with him, and leaves in a hurry. Lee then walks through the street to a park where his wife Evelyn is pushing their youngest son Bo on a swing playfully. Lee sits next to Reagan, his eldest child and only daughter who is deaf. Bo runs to Marcus and gives him a chewing gum to calm him. Emmett's eldest son bats the ball and makes a home run. Marcus' turn is up and he misses the first 2 balls and looks anxious, but his mom reassures him to stay calm. Then he is distracted by a large meteor in the sky, and so is everyone in the park. The game stops and everyone starts heading back to their cars and homes. Reagan goes with her dad, and Evelyn takes the boys. He then guides his daughter swiftly to his car, but later exits to talk to the local police when all of a sudden an alien-like creature attacks, so he quickly returns to his vehicle and proceeds to drive quickly to safety, evading the creatures. Meanwhile, Evelyn is driving the boys when the mayhem starts, so she tries to evade the chaos and drive the boys to safety, but she's regressed by an attacked bus advancing towards them. Lee and his daughter quickly enter a bar, trying to keep a calm head. They eventually make no noise, but unfortunately someone's cell rings, alerting the creature to their location to attack everyone in the bar. Lee and Reagan narrowly escape the bar and head down the street with the alien after them. But a local cop shoots at the creature, and the cop eventually gets decimated in place of Lee and his daughter. It's day 474. The scene opens with the Abbott family leaving their home barefooted. Just before leaving the farm, Evelyn tells Marcus and Reagan to stay there while she quietly heads back into the flooded cellar, after which Reagan also tells Marcus she's going back to the basement. Evelyn enters the flooded cellar and tries to stay quiet as she swims in search of an oxygen tank and a baby crib. Meanwhile, Reagan collects the amplifier and microphone in the basement. She uses her clipper to cut a cord off the amplifier to make it mobile. She then takes a map from her father's workbench and goes on top of the grain silo to navigate her father's destination. She identifies the location and marks it. Reagan and Evelyn individually return, and the family walk and leave their home along the sandy path Lee had created for them, for hunts and searches until they reach the farthest point, after which Evelyn turns to Reagan, looking for assurance of following the right path, which she nods affirmatively. Evelyn and Reagan carry the baby in a trunk soundproofed with blankets, while the oxygen tank feeds a baby respiratory mask so that the trunk lid can be closed. The family reach a wire fence with a small opening, as Evelyn carefully walks through, but her bag gets caught, therefore she looks behind her, concerned about the noise, and unknowingly triggers a tripwire that causes a bundle of bottles to fall and jangle. Evelyn whispers to Marcus and Reagan to run. They keep running with Reagan and Evelyn holding the baby crib, trying not to startle the baby. Whilst running, Marcus gets injured by a bear trap, which he handles silently until he sees his injured foot and lets out a primal scream. Meanwhile, we see a perspective to a viewpoint through a gun aim that has been fixed on the family as the alien starts to approach the family. Evelyn tries to stop him from screaming, whilst Reagan uses the amp, microphone, and cochlear implant hearing aid to create a feedback that is unbearable to the alien. Evelyn neutralizes the alien in the head. The family head inside a nearby derelict building. As they walk round a corner, a man grabs Evelyn, puts his hand over Evelyn's mouth and signals her to stay mute while pointing to an alien on the ceiling above them. The man leads the family through a series of crowded, barricaded passageways which prevents the alien from successfully catching them till they get to a bunker underground and enter a soundproof vault. A towel is over the latch of the vault to reduce noise and prevent the latch from locking the door from the inside. After their entrance, once safe, he tells the family they can't stay because there isn't enough food or water for them to survive on. Evelyn thinks she recognizes the man and calls out his name, Emmett, to which Emmett unmasks his face from the scarf and baseball cap he'd been wearing, but he reiterates that they can't stay. After the alien leaves and the place seems calm again, Evelyn treats her son's injured ankle, painfully dressing it in the vault to avoid attracting the aliens, since Marcus screams due to excruciating pain. And Marcus is laid to rest, while Reagan comforts him with headphones and plays radio white noise to him. As they sit, Emmett asks about the device used to kill the alien, to which Evelyn replies she only knows that it works. Evelyn asks about Emmett's children, and he explains his sons died on day 1. Evelyn asks after Lola, his wife, to which he explains that Lola died 11 weeks ago, and that she got sick, and they moved down to the soundproof basement of this derelict warehouse once the pain was too bad, and she was screaming. Emmett is remorseful and regretful, saying that he couldn't do enough. Evelyn asks if Emmett did see the fires lit by Lee each night, and if he knew it was Lee, to which Emmett says he did. Emmett explains that the people left have changed drastically with no ounce of humanity left in them. Therefore, they're not people worth saving. Reagan angrily signs and whispers out that Emmett is nothing like her father. Suddenly, Marcus hears music and sits bolt upright. Reagan stops tuning the dial, and Evelyn rushes over. Shocked, she turns to Emmett, who explains that yes, it's just the song Across the Sea on a loop. That's all it ever does. He later leaves to look for resources. Later that night, Reagan works out the signal origination from an island nearby, about 1 day's walk away, so in the middle of the night, she wakes Marcus and they go to the soundproof vault to talk. Reagan attempts to convince Marcus to help her find a way to the radio tower by following railway tracks to the coast, then finding a boat. She wants to get to the station so that she can use the station to transmit the high-frequency noise her hearing aid produces that exposes weak spots on the aliens. In this way, anyone including the family can use a radio to play the high-pitched noise and protect themselves from the aliens, which would be a significant step towards a better way of life. Marcus is very worried and does not want Reagan to go, but Reagan insists she has to try because that's what Dad would have done. Marcus disagrees, so Reagan is forced to secretly venture out on her own very early in the morning after Marcus threatens to tell their mother. She leaves a note on the radio telling Marcus to keep listening. In the morning, after discovering that Reagan has gone, Evelyn pleads Emmett to go after her and bring her back. He eventually agrees when Evelyn tearfully says that she wishes Lee was here to look him in the eye and tell him Reagan is exactly the type of person worth saving. Meanwhile, after a long walk, Reagan comes across a dejected train station with a derailed train with absolutely no signs of life and climbs aboard the front carriage, which is the only one still on the train track. There are several dead bodies, skeletons, as she walks through, looking around carefully till she gets to an opening in the side of the train which seems to be an attack point of the alien. She continues till she reaches the exit where she sees a first aid kit in the driver booth, which she needs, but struggles to open the door. She eventually reaches the box and takes it, but the skeleton of the dead driver falls on her, causing a fright, and she screams. An alien shortly arrives, but she doesn't see it yet because she's deaf, but eventually sees it, and Reagan is trapped, struggling to hold the hearing aid to the microphone in one hand and operate the shotgun in the other. She shoots the first and doesn't deliver the coup de grace, so she is trying to shoot again but can't, when luckily Emmett arrives and shoots the creature. They hide in nearby station office due to fear the noise will have attracted more aliens. As the alien come around, Emmett explains he is here to take her home, but she is deaf, so she tells him to enunciate. So he does, but Reagan refuses and is not happy and says what home. Reagan explains her plan to Emmett and says that before, when his wife died, there wasn't anything he could do, but now there is. Emmett reluctantly decides to help her complete the mission. Back at Emmett's base, Evelyn has to leave Marcus and the baby to get supplies they require, which is medicine for Marcus's foot and more oxygen tanks for the baby for when the baby is in the trunk. Reagan wakes up from sleep to find her amp, microphone, and cochlear implant hearing processor missing, and Emmett gone. She rushes outside the office crying, thinking Emmett had stolen everything when he returns, saying he has found some boats they can use, so they set off. Evelyn quietly exits the vault and proceeds to leave when Marcus, who is very scared and doesn't want her to go, comes out to stop her. Evelyn explains his foot will get worse and she can't lose him too, and even though he thinks he is not equipped to take care of his brother, his mom knows he can because she has trained her. Marcus understands and lets her go. She valiantly walks back to the sandpath and follows the route she and the family uses to get to the store where Lee bought oranges on day 1. Along the way, she passes the bridge where Bo died, where a makeshift shrine is. She touched the photographs crying, and finally places her wedding ring on top of the cross and leaves. Emmett and Reagan also trek through field and get to an overhead bridge where they get an overview of the dock they plan to reach for the boat. Back at base, after Marcus succeeds in getting the baby to sleep with the baby's oxygen tank, the gauge is in the red zone since it is running low. Marcus exits the bunker and explores the compound. Heading upstairs, Marcus finds a room covered in drawings of Emmett's sons. Behind some curtains separating a section of the room, He finds a dead body half composed, which might probably be Lola, Emmett's wife, lying in a bed. This startles him, and he accidentally knocks a few objects over, alerting a nearby alien to his location. Terrified, he runs back to the basement, grabs the baby, and puts him in the vault. He then steps out again to grab the stopwatch and radio, and as the alien approaches, he is able to get into the vault and close the door. Unfortunately, the towel is not over the latch, and the door locks shut unbeknownst to Marcus. By nightfall, Emmett and Reagan reach the docks and look for a boat they can take to reach the island. After a thorough search, they find a little girl at the end of the pontoon when carefully surveying the vicinity. Emmett goes up to her to help her, and she suddenly traps him in a noose, and at this point he notices it's a trap, when several feral people who are bloodshot in the eyes and mysterious-looking with cult-like appearances appear. Their leader ties netting with bottles around Emmett to prevent him from moving and begins to search Reagan for supplies. They take her hearing aid and rucksack her bags full of supplies, then begin to lead her away. Emmett, noticing the danger signs, dive to Reagan, which she immediately does. Then he wriggles, opens the netting, making lots of noise, and grabs the leader who took Reagan's hearing aid. Several aliens appear and attack people at the docks, killing a number of feral people. Emmett is still holding the man, and an alien comes to attack due to the noise of the bottles. Before the alien attacks them, he stabs the man in the knees to draw the alien and dives into the water. A small boat comes by, and Reagan's hand reaches out to him and pulls him out, and as he climbs aboard and opens his mouth to reveal Reagan's hearing aid. They remove the noose and we see their boat heading to the island. Marcus is struggling to breathe and sees from the watch that he needs to open the door. He struggles with the door and eventually, distraught, gives up. He opens the baby's trunk to find the baby screaming. With a pained expression, he starts sharing the oxygen with the baby until he passes out. Meanwhile, Evelyn goes to the store and gets all the needed medications and 2 new oxygen tanks for the baby and returns to compound with all the supplies and hears an alien making a loud cry. She attracts the alien to a corner away from the bunker and near one of her oxygen tank. She waits till the alien is close and tries to explode the alien by shooting an oxygen tank, but the alien emerges unscathed. The explosion does, however, trigger the fire sprinklers. The noise of the sprinklers helps mask Evelyn's navigation around the alien and return to the basement. Evelyn opens the vault to find Marcus out of breath and revives him, after which she hides inside the vault with Marcus and the infant. Reagan and Emmett approach the island, secretly surveying the vicinity until they find a colony of people living normal lives after isolating themselves to the island, and for the first time in a while making merry with no fear of being attacked. They met their leader, who explains that after the government realized the creatures could not swim, the National Guard had as many people as possible put on the islands. He relays his sighs of relief when they discovered the island and comforts Emmett, telling him that help has come. But Emmett tells him they came rather to help them, showing him the cochlear implant processor Regan gave him. Emmett tells him how is to be used and the range it will have once broadcasted. At dawn, Emmett meets Reagan to thank her for giving him back hope and reassures her she was right when she said he wasn't like her father, but he says Reagan is. Emmett walks to the shore, finally feeling fulfilled with tears, knowing his wife and kids could have survived if they had discovered this earlier, when he hears a distinct sound from a distance. He curiously goes to check it out, only to find that an alien, specifically the stranded one on the boat, had reached the island, so he runs quickly to warn the people, but unfortunately, the creature manages to get there and kills several civilians. The leader quickly hides his sons in a closet, instructing them to stay quiet while they lure the creature away. Emmett and Reagan join the leader in his car, and they honk to gain the attention of the creature as they lure the creature away to where the radio station is. They arrive at the station, but the alien isn't chasing them, so the leader thinks it has returned to their home, and before he finishes his speech, the alien grabs him and drags him out of the entrance, neutralizing him. The alien follows them inside, so they try hiding and seeking refuge behind servers. They slowly tiptoe, trying to get to the broadcast room, but the alien is nearby searching, so they hide till it moves. While Evelyn opens the vault to let in air, Emmett helps Reagan slowly enter the broadcasting room. After the alien moves from that area and she proceeds to where the microphone is, Evelyn exits the vault to pick the medications on the ground when she notices the alien creeping behind the sprinkler's waterfall, so she runs into the vault, but the alien claws its way in, trying to neutralize them. As Reagan opens the door to the microphone, the alien eventually hears Regan and Emmett, slicing Emmett with its claws. However, as it goes after Reagan, she is able to change the sound coming from the station from the song to the noise. Her hearing aid produces weakening the creature. Simultaneously, we see Marcus picking up the signal through the radio, also using the noise to weaken the creature, neutralizing it as Reagan also uses a pole to decimate the one at the radio station, now allowing anyone to be able to kill the creatures as long as the radio is present to bring out those frequencies. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.